Are you scared? Is it safe? How do you stay safe? And I totally understand those questions. They're very, very relevant if you're thinking about doing this or if you're just curious about it. But I think the problem really is that many people they strive to obtain control over life, and you can't really do that. Life is a natural thing, and bad things are going to happen. You can take precautions, but at the end of the day, like, life is not a threat. And I feel like so many people feel like life itself is a threat. They're always like worrying about what bad things could potentially happen. And really, you just have to learn to go with the flow, protect yourself as best as you can, but you can't let that fear control you, because really, then you don't end up doing anything. And that, I don't know, I just think that it's unnecessary. And throughout the entire time that I've been doing this, I've only had one instance where I had to deal with the cops. And it wasn't anything bad. It was literally, I had parked somewhere and they knocked on the window, just were like, hey, you can't sleep here. And I moved, and that was the end of it. And like I said, out of 3 years, that was the only time that something like that happened. And I think that a lot of the reason why it happened is because it was in the early stages of me trying this, and so I hadn't really figured out where I was going to park or the right places to park, and I didn't realize that maybe I shouldn't park in the same place consistently. So I think that's why that happened. But other than that, I've had no issues with any sort of safety thing. Of course, there's like tons of stuff that you could do to stay safe, but as far as living in a car and traveling, I have like 10 key things that I do in order to stay safe, and so that is what I'm going to share with you guys. Number 1, always let someone, at least one person, know where you are, where you're going, and who you're with. And it's good to have some sort of a plan and to let someone know. That way, if they can't contact you in a certain amount of time, they at least know, like, to tell the authorities where you were going or who was with you or where you should be at a certain time. When it comes down to it, it's just responsible to have someone be able to get a hold of you and know where you are. Like, one thing that I do is, since I have an iPhone, it has the Find Friends app, and you can share your location. So I've shared my location with as many people that, like, my friends and my family that are willing to, like, follow me. That way, at any point in time, they can look and see where I'm at. And then also, if I plan to meet up somebody, I take a picture of their car and the license plate and send it to, like, my mom or something. Again, it just comes down to, taking care of those fundamentals of being safe. The second one would be to never tell people you are traveling alone. So if you stop at gas stations or go sightseeing, unless you absolutely have to, like if you're going couch surfing and they need to know how many people to accommodate, that's kind of an exception, but still be very, very careful in that regard also. But it's just, if you're going, you stop to put gas, you go inside, nobody needs to know you're traveling alone. Like, you just keep that to yourself, because if you make that known, you're kind of like a walking target. Number 3 would be to lock your doors all of the time and as soon as you can. So I am a little bit paranoid, but I think that my paranoia can definitely help in some circumstances. As soon as I get out of the car, I lock it. As soon as I get back in the car, like even if it's just putting gas, as soon as I'm in the car and I close the door, I hit that lock button so that no one can open my doors. They had stories, I don't know exactly where, it could have been in a couple places, where you get out to put gas and your car's unlocked, people will drive by on like the passenger side and open the door and like steal people's stuff. And not because of that, but I mean, that's just like a good example of why like I would do it. And I also like to lock my doors because, say for instance, I stop at a stoplight and someone like tries to carjack me, it's gonna be a little bit harder to get into my car if the door is locked. Probably not impossible, but a little bit harder. And then also with number 3, again, my paranoia, but I like to, before I get into my car, if I've been away for a second, I like to look underneath, especially at nighttime, because I've watched a lot of like crime shows, and like I said, I get really, really paranoid, and I'm scared that somebody could be under my car, like waiting to like slash my Achilles tendon or something. And you never know. You just never know what kind of people are out there, and it's better to be prepared than to be taken by surprise. And number 4 has to do with your car. So if you live in your car or if you travel in your car very, very often, when it comes to maintenance, you really just want to make sure that you're on schedule with it, if not even a little bit early. Just always check your fluids, and then keep like a spare tire, a gas can, jumper cables, a basic tool set, and then maybe like some extra belts for your vehicle. And one thing that I really like to do is, especially if I'm not too familiar with the area that I'm going and I don't know the highway very well, like where the gas stations are, then I don't let my gas like go below half. I will always fill up when it reaches half, because like I said, you never know. Some places have really long stretches of highway or just roads where there's pretty much nothing. Next would be that when you leave your vehicle, to either hide all of your expensive belongings or take them with you, or simply get a safe. That'll help out a lot. But me personally, as of right now, what I do is I pile all of my stuff into a certain backpack, and usually I take it with me wherever I go. The sixth one would be that whenever you get ready to go to sleep, make sure that you have everything ready to get up and go in case something happens in the middle of the night, some sort of emergency or just anything, because like I said earlier, you never know what can happen. So you just want to have everything ready, know where everything is, just have like a clear path to the driver's seat or be able to get there. Have as much packed up as you can to just be ready to go in case of like an emergency situation. Number 7 is just be aware of your surroundings, be prepared, and do your research. So in the event that you're going to go off hiking in the middle of nowhere, you definitely want to have your phone charged in case you need to make a super sudden emergency phone call, but also for directions in case you need them. And keep in mind that phones don't work everywhere, so even if it is charged, you may be out of luck. So it's a good idea to carry a compass or a map and just really familiarize yourself with where you're going and the path that you need to get there and to get out. And then it's a good idea to, when you're going to go to a new area, to possibly check the crime rate. That way you know kind of where to sleep, you can plan it out a little bit, maybe not stay in one city, but maybe the next one over, and to get an idea of the weather. If there's going to be a giant thunderstorm, you might not want to stay there just yet. Save it for next weekend. 8 would be to carry a weapon of your choice. That could either be a knife, pepper spray, bear mace, a taser, a gun, whatever floats your boat. Of course, you're going to have certain certifications for different items, so definitely check that out before you just go out and get something. But it is a really good idea to have some sort of a weapon handy. Number 9 would be to take some self-defense classes, or just make sure that you have a basic understanding of how to defend yourself. And the 10th one would be to have a savings. Things always go wrong. It's kind of inevitable, and it's going to be a lot easier if you've got a decent chunk of money saved up for when that does happen. So I would definitely recommend just having a savings. And then there's one little bonus one that I didn't include in like the 10 list just because it doesn't apply to everyone, but if you're going to be kind of either vlogging your travels or posting anything on social media, the internet, there's lots of people have access to this information that you decide to share, which is what makes it so great, but it also means you have to take a little bit more precaution. So I definitely suggest to anyone who's going to post their stuff on any platform of social media to not really share your location until you have left. That's definitely something that I practice, and of course it's not a requirement, but it's a suggestion that I would strongly put out there to anyone who's doing that. I hope that helped give you some ideas on how to stay safe if you're living in a car or if you're traveling full time. And just remember that you can't let fear control your life. Like I said, bad things are going to happen regardless of whether you live in a house or you live in a vehicle. It's going to be a little bit different, but you can't be afraid to go out there and live. You just can't. I mean, otherwise, I don't know. It's just my personal opinion. It's just that most of these experiences come with a reward that's totally worth it. Anyways, stay safe and remember to go outside.